Good morning. Happy Friday to you, one and all. It is January 10th already. The month is already well into it, right? So, as I mentioned at the beginning of the month, my goal is to drop a podcast every week. I got a little lackadaisical about it in the last couple of years. Was busy kind of doing life and learning more about myself, which is always important, right? And we learn most valuable lessons sometimes in relationships. And just a reminder, my name is Rachel Allen. I probably should have said that from the start. And I am a lifestyle coach. I work with individuals in terms of redefining, discovering a process of self-discovery, if you think of it that way. For some of us, that discovery is encouraged by something in the outer world being or creating a sense of dissatisfaction, right? So I always say money and honey are the top two, so whether it be relationships or finances. And I actually got into a lot of the spiritual practitioner work myself through finance and through health. So overcoming chronic panic disorder and chronic poverty consciousness that I had at that time in my life. And so I began my studies, and through that evolution of study and continuing to evolve personally, moving through relationships, moving through life experiences, overcoming, the word overcoming fear, doubt, worry, and belief in lack or limitation. That has been my adventure. And what I appreciate most about those challenges is I have learned the importance of discipline and the importance of continuing to what I call come back to the mat, because I change a lot. I listened in my early years before really coming into metaphysical studies. I studied and learned a lot from speakers like Les Brown and Terry Cole Whitaker and Dr. Richelieu, people that really inspired me and I'm going to say affirmed that inner voice that said, there's got to be more. There's got to be more. So that's a long way of getting to what this week's topic is about. This week's topic is about relationships. And so Les Brown, in one of his talks, which if you get a chance to listen to this man, heart, soul food. But Les Brown talks about in a time of his life where he felt like he parked the car. And when he parked the car without the lights on so nobody would see him. And relationships are absolutely that for me. I've been blessed, let me say that, by just incredible people in my life. And the relationships in the outer world, or the reminder is the relationships in the outer world mirror my belief or my ability to receive love. And so the inner work has always been the most challenging, daunting, humbling, because once again, the desire to be in a relationship gets to begin and kind of end with self. And so as I have learned to speak up for myself in relationships and learn how to say no thank you in relationships that don't honor myself and in some level, I guess, themselves, and create space for harmonious relationships. It's always the most difficult because we hear things in the world like, you shouldn't have expectations in a relationship. Well, here's the reality. I'm just going to speak my truth, coming from an alcoholic, dysfunctional home life, let me tell you something. I accepted anything anybody would offer me because I did not know value of myself. I felt like I was, I'm going to say almost damaged good. Like if somebody really knew the secrets I was holding in my heart, how could somebody really love this person? And so I'm going to say cancel, delete on the no expectations. Because I do have expectations today in my life. I have expectations, and let me say something. I live a life of harmony. I live in alignment that says what I desire the universe, I expect the universe to fulfill those desires, which means I show up to a relationship giving, and I do believe that there is there is a natural desire to have a give and take in a relationship. Now, am I clear in my communication about what that looks like? That's the catch. So do I expect somebody to be something that they are incapable of being? That's the bigger piece, right? I love the book by Hollowell. It's called The Universal Laws, and he talks about in that sometimes we can grow. We want to be something, right? And the process of growth is sometimes different. I'm going to say longer than anticipated. So we may get an immediate demonstration and then that demonstration goes away. Why? Because I don't have the consciousness that can sustain the demonstration. However, it's an insight as to where I get to grow, and it's an insight as to where I get to move or develop my life skills through those disciplines that I mentioned earlier. And so those are relationships for me. Those have been my life experience with relationships. I can communicate a need, want, and desire. Somebody can say, yes, I can show up that way. And eventually, I always say the truth outs itself. So if somebody isn't, or if it's not theirs to do, that truth outs itself, which means either they go back to the old behavior, I go back to the old behavior, whatever that is, and the relationship dissolves, which is natural. That's the way the learning curve grows. So what I love about this topic of relationships is I always find out where I am in consciousness in a relationship. A, what I know about myself, what I need, want, and desire in a relationship. B, can I communicate that in a kind, compassionate way? Am I aligning with people? A bird just flew to its little, I have a beautiful feeder outside my window, a dear friend of mine brought. So the birdie just flew. And so am I in alignment, and am I able to communicate that in a kind, compassionate way? And can I allow them the space to show up? Which means, am I watching what they're being, not what they're saying? I used to go off of what everybody said in terms of how they would show up. And then eventually their actions aren't in alignment. And I'd be like, oh, diminished return, diminished return, diminished return. And then on some part I'm going, oh, that's okay. And here's the reality, folks. We have relationships in our lives so that we can give 100%. That is absolutely true. And we like people to show up to our relationships, whether it's personal, whether it's professional. We like, and not just like, I'm going to say a spiritual need, right? To have those relationships in harmony, in congruency with where we are. Otherwise, it won't last. They will not be lasting relationships. And that's okay too. I went away for a retreat, I think I'm going to say about, 10 years ago. But it was a huge awareness for me. Like I used to think, like I shared, I think coming out of my background, my family of origin stuff, I would let everybody into my intimate world. Like I would overshare, over-invite, and people couldn't show up. And then I'd have this awareness, something was wrong with me, was my takeaway. I made up things about that silence. I made up things about what that meant when they couldn't show up the way that I invited. And so what I learned in that workshop was so important to me. It talks about the circles, the spheres of relationships. So there's intimates, there are friends and associates. So there's different spheres for different relationships. Not everybody is an intimate relationship. And so learning how to trust that people show us how they want to be in our lives. Gold star. And I get to show up to people's lives how I best can serve, and I show up as authentically as I can be. Yes, I can do that, or you know what? That's not for me to do. This is real intimacy. First of all, it's intimacy with myself, knowing how I can show up for myself in alignment and for others in alignment. I'm going to say 50 years, folks, of bumping in and out of relationships, bumping into the challenging places in my life that has really enabled me to be, I'm going to say, flying solo, living as an independent woman who is in love with her life and single, for the first time in my life. And really developing myself in this time. I literally have gone from relationship to relationship and friendship to friendship, and I've really just taken the time over the last couple of years of just learning more about myself and how to build the most important relationship in my world, which is my relationship with myself, and honoring my own word, showing up to myself and being authentic with myself. And the biggest part, showing up to myself, right? Doing the most uncomfortable things, the most difficult things, and holding my own feet to the fire so that I can be living the life that is most fulfilling for me. So relationships, whether they're my relationship with myself, the relationships with my family, the relationships with my friends, my coworkers, the world about me, all of that begins with my relationship with my source, knowing who I am, knowing what I am a representative of, and then allowing it to outflow from there. So with that being said, on Saturday, February 1st, I'm going to be conducting a free workshop. We're here in Tucson. If you want to know more, definitely call me or message me. My phone number is 520-270-0409. We're going to be covering everything that I'm discussing this month. Relationships, we're going to be talking about finance, we're going to be talking about creative outlet, we're going to be talking about everything, but it's really your time to walk through the creative process and pick an area of your life that you are ready to focus on, maybe for the first 6 months. I don't know. Everybody evolves differently. However, you can get a good foothold in the first 30, 60, 90 days of any process. So, like I said, February 1st, 2 to 4 here in the Tucson area. Call my number, text my number, 520-270-0409. And let's get real about your life. Find out what it is that sets your soul on fire and how to co-create that and walk that into your life. I celebrate you. I appreciate you for watching. I know the videos, I'm going to be under 15 minutes, which is pretty cool. But like I said, always find me on Facebook as well. And the video will be published on my YouTube video channel as well as Facebook. Blessings to you. Have a great Friday and enjoy your weekend. Thank you for sharing. Blessings.